Anytime you're ready.
This rice field in Crowley has lost stand as a result of colaspis larvae feeding on the roots. You can see that what happened here is you have all these spaces in the field where there are misses in the field where the rice was killed by the colaspis larvae feeding on the roots. And the life cycle of this insect is that it will infest soybeans, lay eggs in the soybeans, and then those larvae will begin feeding on the roots of the soybean plant. And in the wintertime, they'll overwinter in the field and then begin to feed on whatever plant is planted into that field the following spring. In this case, we had soybeans in the field last year. The rice was drilled no-till into the soybean stubble, which is an ideal situation where you could see grape colaspis then infesting the rice and beginning to feed on the roots once the plants begin to grow and the soil begins to warm up. What I'm going to do now is demonstrate how you could scout for colaspis larvae in your rice field. If you start to see what you would be looking for is beginning at the rice when it's about fourth leaf to tillering, you might start to see places in the stand where you have plants that are killed or dying and then surrounded by plants that are looking okay but might be starting to decline. And what's happening in some of these plants that are declining, like this plant that's dead here, is that the roots are being trimmed by the colaspis larvae feeding on the roots. So what I've done here is I located a plant that was dying. Demonstrate here how I would lift the soil around that plant and then look through these clods for the larvae. Now right here, I located a colaspis larvae. It's probably dug back down in the soil now. This here. Here it is. This guy's actually black, which he could possibly have a bacteria infesting him, I'm not sure. You can see how they're pretty good movers. This is a grape colaspis larvae that I just dug up out of this moist soil. So probably by applying the water to the field, it will not do any more feeding damage to the field, but you still can find them in a field when you've applied the flood. Probably, we're not sure exactly how long they'd survive, but probably still even up to a week after flood, you would still find some larvae out here. The way that you could manage this pest is by putting water on the field as quickly as you can, depending on the growth stage of the rice, whether or not it can tolerate a flood. When you apply a flood, they will cease feeding on the plants, shouldn't do any more damage. Some of the plants are going to die because of the fact that the roots were already pruned excessively and they've begun to die already. And you would also, at that point, then just prevent feeding, and eventually they'll die because they can't survive in the wet environment. But if you did want to scout in your field, you would particularly want to look at high spots in the field. If you look at the pattern in the field, and especially before... Oh, here's an adult. So this is an adult. Found him about 2 inches down in the soil. What this adult is likely to do now, it may have just emerged from the pupal casing. And what it's probably going to do now is leave here and go ahead and infest a soybean field where it will lay eggs before the larvae will overwinter in the soil. This is the pupa. We just pulled it out of its little mud burrow it had made. You can see that it's kind of going through a change in form, and it'll emerge from this as an adult.